of regulations under 0074. The very next page answers this question for you. It shows without any doubt. I'm sorry, the third page. This is the one that has to do with the law. And it says, starts out supporting statement for 1040 form, and it starts at 1.6011-1, and then it drops down in the middle. It says, the following are citations to 26 United States Code. Are y'all with me right there? That would be about halfway through the Paperwork Reduction Act. It looks like this. If you want to see what it looks like, this is what it looks like. So it'd be like the third page of code sections if you're at that point. Okay? And in the middle it says the following are citations to 26 United States Code. Now, in order for the IRS to be drawing the OMB office attention to their change of the exempt amount at 151D, they have to list it under the following statutes, the following citations of 26 U.S.C. Now, I want you to notice that they just skip right over 151D because it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. It did in 1 year. And the importance of this is that you have a right to elect people to run your government, that they would then vote and write on laws that would come in play, become law at the time they're in office. And you have a right to elect them. Right now, the current present Internal Revenue Code, you cannot elect anybody to vote on the exempt amount. They'll never even hear it. They'll never address it. They'll be off raising money because the IRS is writing it. Now, I would agree, in some instances, the IRS may be able to do that. But if they're going to do it, they've got to comply with the Paperwork Reduction Act. That's all I'm talking about. And if they're not going to comply with the Paperwork Reduction Act, and if the statement is they cannot comply with the Paperwork Reduction Act, then that game is over. And it's time to bring in whatever else God wants us to do that we're holding back because everybody's addicted to this very bad nightmare. Okay? It's a plague on the American people. It's a lot longer than any plague probably that we know of. It's just you have to recognize it as a plague. It's a bondage. And you can't... It's almost like the Santa Claus conspiracy. And everybody played a part in it. Everybody played a role in it. But nobody got an email from somebody that said, hey, make sure you tell your kids Santa Claus exists. In fact, most everybody participated in the big hoax. And that's how bad the IRS is. Except it's 36%, 35%, 34%. It's penalties and interest way over 100%. If you mess up on what you got your kids for Christmas, you know, it's not going to cost you the rest, everything you worked hard for in 1 year. Right now, our system is such in this place that everybody is maxed out in debt, borrowed to the hilt, and if they do one question, the government has so much power that they can put such a burden financially on them that they'll either squelch under pressure or lose everything they have. We can't do it. We can't do it. I'm not going to do it. I believe that I would have to answer to God if I did it. Because I know. And because you all here tonight, and because you are watching this on the internet, you all will know as well. If they thought that they wanted OMB to look at their number for the exempt amount under 151D, they got to tell them, here's the number we changed from the form last year, and here's why we did it, here's how we figured it out, we need you to approve this number. But since they don't draw attention to it, OMB doesn't look at it, and therefore it's not a valid OMB approval number. In many ways, it's not valid. In many ways, I clearly established for you that it's not current. I've also established for you in these documents that they know they have to comply with it. Now, I am not telling anybody not to file a 1040 form. I said it at the beginning, and I'm saying it now. What I'm taking out is the penalty, okay? I'm a penalty protester, and I'm proud of it. And I will be a penalty protester for the rest of my life. We have to have taxes. But before we have taxes, we have to have a government that can impose those taxes. And before we have a government, we have to have laws, even to the point of bringing that government into existence. Every 4 years, we change a part of our government. Every 2 years, we change a part of our government, and every 6 years, we change a part of our government. There's one part of our government that only changes by death of the occupant. That's the only thing holding it together right now, is that office, which is the judicial branch of government. If you look on the next page, it says reason for changes in burden, major changes to Form 1040. If you don't think I'm telling you and what I believe to be accurate and correct, and you want to check it out for yourself, because I'm one of those guys that says trust, but only if you can verify. Don't trust until after the verification. They're getting in here and explaining to OMB why they changed the structure of a sentence on the 1040 form. We added line 44. We added line 24. To make room for this line, we removed the extra blank line on 21. Again, we're talking about blank lines are so important. But the one thing that they're overlooking on purpose, because Congress didn't write it, and that's the exempt amount. And here's the threat. If Congress has to vote every year on the exempt amount, then that puts that exempt amount in the hands of the people that have been elected to run our government. They can run on the stance that I will vote for a $100,000 exempt amount this year. I'll vote for $200,000. I'll vote to eviscerate the exempt amount and just wipe it all out together. And it'd be a big battle, and everybody knows the only winners would be the American people. But by being deprived of that right, that suffrage right issue, the right to have people represent you before the laws are written, the government has made a tactical exchange which is very clear. If there is something that the executive branch government is asking of you, and the IRS is in the executive branch government, and that is not supported by the law, you are not required to provide the information to that executive branch of government. Okay? And that's just as clear as it can get. They know, those people in Washington who decided on January 1, 2005 to put the same OMB number on all the forms, knew that they were already in major violation of the Paperwork Reduction Act. And their attitude was, I actually thought they changed the number on the 1040 form. They spited me just to say that they had just one-upped me a little bit. They decided to get rid of all the other numbers and keep that one number. How are they ever going to explain that OMB approved a number for one form and it's now on 10 forms? And this just draws attention to the same point that I tried to make earlier with the exhibits attached that say to you, doesn't it just look a little bit suspicious when they're asking for at maximum 3-year approval for an expiration of a number, and it appears on 23 forms in a row? Isn't that just a little, I better go look closer? Just a little bit? Well, see, I suggest that it is. I suggest it's a prima facie case that causes you to go in. It looks like on the surface there's something wrong, so we'll go look a little deeper and see if it really is. And then, of course, as I've taken you here tonight, I've taken you a little deeper. I showed you what I learned. Now, there's a couple things left here to go through on this part of it. And then we're 23 forms in a row. Isn't that just a little, I better go look closer? Just a little bit? Well, see, I suggest that it is. I suggest it's a prima facie case that causes you to go in. It looks like on the surface there's something wrong, so we'll go look a little deeper and see if it really is. And then, of course, as I've taken you here tonight, I've taken you a little deeper. I showed you what I learned. Now, there's a couple things left here to go through on this part of it.